Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Reba, roll call.
Anything else in there?
Mr. Bonomo?
Here.
Mr. Chapman?
Here.
Mr. Fium?
Here.
Mrs. Kay?
Here.
Mr. John?
Here.
Mr. Mahalik?
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mrs. Scarcella?
Here.
Mr. Zola?
Here.
Announcement of executive sessions held as follows. October 12th, negotiations and personnel. October 17th, personnel. October 19th, personnel. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Uplinger, Superintendent of Schools, oath of office.
Or would you like me to come out there? Right there?
Raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, Brian Thomas Uplinger,
I, Brian Thomas Uplinger,
of 292 West Franklin Street, Waynesburg,
of 292 West Franklin Street, Waynesburg, Pennsylvania,
being duly appointed superintendent of the Hazleton Area School
being
District
duly appointed as superintendent of Hazleton Area School District
in Hazleton City,
in Hazleton City,
Luzerne County, Pennsylvania,
Luzerne County, Pennsylvania,
for a term beginning on the 18th day of September,
for a term beginning on the 18th day of September,
2017,
2017,
and ending on the 17th day of September, 2022.
ending on the 17th day of September 2022.
Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth.
and the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth.
That I will, during my term of office,
That I will, during my term of office,
perform the duties of my office
perform the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
That I have not paid or contributed,
That I have not paid or contributed,
or promised to pay or contribute,
promised or paid or contributed,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
money or anything else of value,
money or anything else of value
to procure my appointment,
to procure my appointment,
except for the necessary and legitimate expenses
except for the necessary and legitimate expenses
expressly authorized by law.
expressly authorized by law.
That I have not knowingly violated any law of this Commonwealth,
That I have not knowingly violated
any law
of
of this
this
Commonwealth,
Commonwealth
or procured it to be done
or procured it to be done
by others in my behalf.
or others in my behalf.
That I will not knowingly receive,
I will not knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly, money or anything else of value
money or anything else of value
for the performance
for the performance
or the non-performance
or the non-performance
of any act or duty
or of any act or duty
pertaining to my office
pertaining to my office
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
Congratulations.
I didn't think I'd have an audience like this. Thank you all for coming. That's why I couldn't remember the name, the word.
Keep it short.
And with that, annually, PSBA puts out recognition certificates to individual members of school boards that have met milestones throughout their careers. And this evening, I'd like to honor two of our board members that have made those milestones. If for 8 years of service or honor roll of school board service to Mr. Robert Mahalik and Mr. Clarence John.
him anyway.
Please. We'll hear him.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Clarence. Before we get into the public announcements and recognition, before we get into the public comment directed at the board on agenda items only, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Ariba, Assistant to the Superintendent, to just talk about some things in relation to the agenda this evening.
Okay, thank you. I would like to provide some information and explanation on items 94 and 96 that are on the agenda tonight. Back in August this summer, the board has approved a retirement incentive for administrators and non-classified employees. We were asked at the time what the calculations and the savings would be on that incentive. I pointed out at the time we wouldn't be able to calculate that until we knew who was actually retiring and who was going to replace the positions. So tonight we have a quick presentation and slideshow for you. First slide, if you could put that up, Bobby, are the 10 people that are on the agenda that chosen to take the retirement incentive. Deb Brill, our payroll supervisor, Kathy Breyer, our principal at Valley, Maureen DeRose, principal at the Hazleton Elementary Middle School, George Zanatti, director of elementary middle school, Rosemary Hockenberry, supervisor of special education, Anita Matchy, confidential secretary to the assistant superintendent of schools, Kathleen Manko, supervisor of internal auditing and reporting, Andre Marquez, facility director, Susan Salvatierra, assistant principal at the high school, and Deb Yanuzzi, director of special ed and early intervention here in the administration building. First, would like to thank all these employees. They're all great employees and serve this district well, and I have great relationships with all of them. So I would like to thank them first off. Secondly, if you could flip to the second slide.
I'm sorry. Could I ask those individuals that are retiring if they are here to stand? We should have done that first. Where are you? You might be out in the hall. There you are. One of you. Thank you. Sorry.
We put together a replacement plan on slide 2 here where we calculated the savings of the people retiring and the individuals that are replacing those individuals. We played it out for 6 years because the incentive is paid over 5 years, so we went to the year after the incentive ended. We do have some negative costs up front just to for the retirement incentive to pay out some of the legacy costs for the people leaving. But overall, you'll see there's about a $1.2 million savings, about 300 some thousand each year starting next year. Next slide, Bobby. Just want to go back a little bit. We've been talking for about 2 years on the business office being, staffed a little higher than the superintendent's office, and the superintendent's office needing help. We look back to 1999 for those of you that weren't here at the time, and at that time in the superintendent's office we had 5 individuals: Dr. Shepperson, Dr. Carr, Dan Casarella, Sam Scalliot, and Betty Corcoran. Business office, there was actually 4.5 people: Dr. Boyer, A.J. Moran, myself, Bobby Krzansky, and Vinny Zola was actually a half-time assistant business manager and half-time security director, so we counted half of him in that slide. So we had 9.5 positions, and at that time, just to note, we had about 8,500 students. Next slide, Bobby. Under this plan, we're down to, in 2017, 2 people in the business office, Bob Krzansky and Tony Lamanna. In the superintendent's office, we're finally back up to 5, Brian Uplinger, myself. Tonight we're proposing to hire Dan Rogers, Pat Patty, and we have Patty Galloway, 5 people. So we have a total of 7. And again, just noting that our enrollment is up to about 11,500, about 3,000 more kids than we had in 1999. Next slide, Bobby. Just wanted to, and we'll make copies of this presentation for everybody. We have a bunch of copies, so whoever's interested, we'll put it at the podium. But we did want to give you an overview of the 4 individuals in the superintendent's office. We listed the job responsibilities of the superintendent, Mr. Uplinger, the responsibilities of myself, the responsibilities on the next slide of Dan Rogers, and the responsibilities of Pat Patty. Again, I'm not going to go through each of these lines, but if you're interested, we'll make them available and you could see all of those duties. On the last slide, we are appointing these positions that are listed in number 96 on the agenda, and the people on this list is our plan to replace those 10 individuals that are retiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment directed to the board on agenda items only. Mr. Mahalik.
Yes, Dr. Robert Childs, Hazleton Township, speaking on agenda item 66.
Hello, my name is Bob Childs. I'm a resident of Hazleton Township, and I'm also running for the school board for this coming election. Our class sizes are off the wall. Our honors programs have been decimated. There are not enough textbooks for our students. We don't have computers or computer connections for many of our students, certainly a hindrance for our teachers. Throughout the time that the cuts have been made to this district's educational system, the board has been sympathetic and to the point of saying, you know, we just don't have any money to do this with. And then comes the part where we don't even have enough money to do a full-day kindergarten. Last year we simply had none. Now tonight we see that a number of people are retiring. Could be savings for this district, could be put into education. But instead, what are we doing? We're creating a collection of administrative positions, many of questionable importance to this district. We're also filling those positions without adequately interviewing to get the best people who would be in those positions. Instead, what we're getting are those who are familiar with the board members who are currently sitting here. The rumor has it that this board is acting tonight in this way because they're afraid that the incoming board simply will not tolerate such nonsense. And I would tell you that they're correct. The incoming board won't tolerate such nonsense. Now, I was listening to Judge Zola administer the oath to Mr. Uplinger, our superintendent, and it reminds me of when we took the oath to be board members here in this chamber. And I want to tell you that I think that those of you who are voting tonight for the proposals that are out there should hang your heads in shame. I think you should rethink what's going on. And I think that every time you walk down the street from now on and somebody smiles at you, you're going to have to think, what does that person really think of me? And I don't think that the response that's going to come back to your mind is going to be very positive. We need in this district teachers. God forbid we need teachers. More teachers, more teachers, more teachers. What's education all about? We need people in the trenches. We don't need more bosses. It's the worker bees and the drones. And we don't need more drones. We need the worker bees. We need more people in our guidance department. Our school nurses need more help. Please, people, don't vote for this kind of nonsense. Show that you have more character than this. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I address the speaker?
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to go on record to speak of my admiration and respect for Dr. Childs. You're one of the, you know what I feel about you, Doc. I have to ask you because You and I have had many, many, many conversations over 8 years. Each and every one of them I hold on really tight to. I need to know, Doc, because this isn't about politics. This is about a school district that is in dire need of doing a better job. What positions up there are not needed? Yes.
I'll answer that question when I'm on the board.
Okay, all right, that's fair. But you and I have had many, many conversations about how Dr. Butler did not have help. He did not have help in that room. He did not have help. And you said we need assistant superintendents, HR directors. We need these positions. All we're trying to do tonight is to fulfill those. And teachers, you're absolutely right. I've been saying since August 29th, what do we need? What do we need? You're right. I want lower class sizes. I'm prepared right now to hire more teachers. I'm prepared to take more money from our fund balance to bring more teachers here. We need to know. And you know what I'm being told? Across the district, there's no classroom space to add more teachers. That's coming directly from administrators in each building. Now we're getting ready to hire more special education. Okay, we know kindergarten's overfilled. We know first, second, third. I know there are math teachers teaching over 30. I'm prepared to vote right here, right now, tonight, to hire more teachers. I've been asking, can we do this? And I get time and time again, we don't have classroom space. That's it. So when you get elected, because I think you're going to, you've got to help us find more classroom space, because in the last 8 years, we've opened a STEM school that took over 500 kids off this campus. We've opened up a 3 to 6 building that took 1,000 kids out of city schools. We opened up a school for the arts. We have increased programming. We have an alternative education program. We've increased programming time and time and time again. But you and I, in many wonderful, awesome conversations, have said we've abandoned our superintendent. And it's my belief that Dr. Butler left because he didn't have the support on the administrative level.
I talked to Dr. Butler shortly before he left, and his comment was that the board was not letting him do what he needed to do as a superintendent.
Okay.
And I would challenge the board to let Mr. Uplinger do what the superintendent should do.
Absolutely.
That's the education. He did not. He's never said to me that he didn't have help either. His comment to me was the board is not conducive in providing a good education for this district. Period.
Well, the good thing about this is everything is public tonight. Everything, we're on TV, we got different news medias. He has said the exact opposite to me, that this board could have done nothing more to support him, nothing more. And when we felt he was being maybe not treated fairly, we took the stand to make sure he was treated fairly. So he said exactly the opposite, and we're all in public here. And Dr. Butler can watch this on YouTube, or you can watch it live. He knows what he told me, and maybe he knows what he told you. But again, I'm prepared tonight to hire more teachers, more across the board, because we need them. And yes, we need to lower class size, and we need to increase program, and we need to make sure our kids are safe and secure all the time. But the fact of the matter is, there's a savings involved in every single thing you see this evening, and hopefully, by managing our administration more efficiently, that's going to translate into more effective programming. I hope. I don't know. We're trying.
Can't help but disagree, Mr. Mahoney. I respect your opinion. I don't agree with your analysis of the situation at all.
Right. Okay.
And I just say, when I'm on,
Right.
when I'm back on the board, I will be glad to spell out what I think is.
Right. And I respect that, but I wish you would have done it tonight so the public gets an opportunity to hear what we could have done differently to provide more supports. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Childs.
Mr. Mahalik, before we get rolling with other speakers, I am going to be adhering to rules that we put in place at the beginning of the term. We're going to adhere to the 3-minute rule. After the 3-minute time period is up, I am going to gavel you down. So we have to just keep things moving, keeping things consistent, and making sure that we're not talking about the same thing over and over and over. I understand that you're all here for for similar reasons, but we just have to kind of keep the conversation going in a consistent manner. Thank you. Mr. Mahalik.
Yes, Mrs. Ellen McBride from Hazleton, speaking on, I believe, topic number 66. Oh, 60, I'm sorry, Mrs. McBride.
I just have a few questions. I'm sorry, you're right, it is 66. Recommend the board approve suspend hiring policies for the appointment of tonight's agenda. Can somebody answer me why? Why are you suspending this? Like, why are we suspending it to hire these people? Nobody? I'd like to ask another question then, since...
Wait, I'll answer.
Okay.
I'll answer. First of all, I think if you look through the list, payroll supervisor is already an employee in the district who, through Mr. Krasansky's office, chose this person to fill that position because of her qualifications.
So they were
She's already
posted and
employed.
they were interviewed and everything?
Well, I don't know if that took place, but this was the recommendation. Well, that's why we're suspending the policy. You asked. and
No, I know.
I'm going to give you the.
Our policy is to
Chris
post
Yurechko, the
and
Valley,
interviews.
is already an administrator in the district. Go down the line.
Yeah, if
Jason
you-
Williams is already administrator in
Okay,
the district.
if you go down the line, the people that are retiring
Patty
aren't
already-
retiring for several months. Why are they
Well, wait
being
a minute.
replaced now?
Patrick Patty already interviewed for the superintendent's job and came in second in
Right,
that.
and he's a fine
that was
person. That's
that was
not what I'm saying.
A day-long thing. So I guess what you're asking, though, is if you think that some of these people are leaving in June and they're going to wait till June to leave, that's not going to happen.
But
They have
Mr. Zola,
vacation
we've
time.
always done that.
No, wait. They have vacation time. They have sick time that they're going to burn off. Everybody did it. I've been in the district 20 years. Everybody gets down, they burn off sick time that they
Right.
don't want to be paid for because it's not paid at the full amount. So they burn their sick time off. They burn off extra time, like vacation time or personal days. Some people.
Okay,
we
before-
have. Wait a minute. Time out. We have it going on right now.
I'm going to get gaveled.
She'll have her time.
Please,
She
guys.
asked the question and then she asked us to answer.
We have to
I'm trying
remain.
answer it.
We have to remain orderly tonight. Give us the
let's
opportunity
be
to
fair
respond
about it.
because the question was.
Mr. O'Donnell, I'm just trying not to get my
I
time
understand.
off. That's all.
We'll consider
Okay.
that, being that you asked the question.
And I understand what you're saying, Mr. Zola, and I know that people do take, like, okay, now I'm taking 2 months of sick time and that. I understand that. But we have a new board coming in 6 weeks. All of these jobs are leaving in either a month, 2 months, or 6 months. And we're hiring tonight. That's my question. Why are we doing that? It
I
has nothing.
explained it.
It has.
I explained it to you.
It really has nothing, it has nothing to do with the people going in. They are all excellent people. I know most of them. I just never saw this rush in the 32 years I worked in the district. I never saw anything like this.
Last 2 years ago, the board exiting hired a superintendent. 2 months again, right before the new board took over. I remember having a conversation with one of the board members saying, why don't you leave that position open? Because it wasn't the top pick. It actually was like the third pick in the list. And the answer was, well, the current board still has to conduct business, and that's what they did. And they filled that position along with, if I'm not mistaken, about 8 other positions.
But these people still are conducting their business until they leave. You're appointing people so that they're in there and it's done.
Ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I need.
Mr. O'Donnell. Mr. O'Donnell. Mr. O'Donnell, I have a question.
Yes.
Nah,
What
sorry,
if
Lord.
these people rescind their retirement? What if they pull it?
After it's
And they're
voted
not
on
going
tonight, it's
until-
final. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Once it's accepted, yes, that's correct. Unless the board voted to rescind, to allow the rescinding. I'm sorry, let me move this screen and pull this closer. I confirm that what Mr. Reba said is correct, that once it's voted upon and then it's accepted by the board, it's final, unless the board were to make an extraordinary exception and vote to allow the rescinding. But once it's voted on, it's final.
There have been other people who have pulled their retirement. Yes, no?
Yeah, and for the record, I would absolutely vote to rescind a retirement of any one of these people that maybe rethink it. I will be a vote, absolutely, let them come back, without question. So,
Mr. Mahalik?
yes, sir. Mr. Matt Scarcella, West Hazleton, speaking on agenda item 96.
Board, I'd just like to say thank you for allowing me to speak. General public, I just want to say thank you for listening to me as well. My first question will deal with the lack of transparency in the Hazleton Area School District. But first, I would like to recognize the negotiating committee of the school board for getting our union leaders to agree upon such an insulting contract. Your negotiating team did a fantastic job of pulling the wool over their eyes, but thankfully, we finally acted like a union for once. Back to my first question. Why was the agenda distributed minutes before the meeting?
We just actually finished it right before the meeting. Typically, the meeting would have been next week, but it was moved up to today. So we usually have a week between the committee meetings and the meeting, but because of it being moved up, it just was finished right before the meeting.
Okay, my second question deals with the jobs being created tonight. Some of you, not all, presented a financially distressed school district to our union leaders who ignorantly trusted your attempt of good faith. If our school district has such a lack of funds to pay our teachers, where is this money magically appearing from to fund the jobs being created tonight?
This actually is less money. There's $300,000 in savings each year, so it's going to be less each year after these positions are hired.
Okay. With these new jobs being created tonight, will the school district be paying both vice principal salaries and dean of student salaries concurrently?
I believe in one instance, yes.
So we're paying two people to do the same job, basically, in the school district?
He would be shadowing, yes, the person.
Okay, so it's acceptable for the Hazleton area teachers who receive the second lowest salary in Luzerne County to be asked to take a 2-year pay freeze and pay ridiculous medical coverages, but we have two people in the Hazleton area school district doing the same job. That sounds fair. My last question deals with this. Who monitors IEPs right now in the school district?
Your question is who monitors?
Yes, who monitors the IEPs in the school district?
I would just say that everyone does. Everybody has a responsibility, from teachers to administrators. Everybody has a responsibility to monitor an IEP if you're part of the IEP team.
Okay. So if everybody monitors IEPs, why do we need an IEP monitor?
Matt, you know how many times the district paid suits this year in IEPs that were improperly written, that were not carried out? You know how much money the district paid out?
I didn't ask that question.
Well, I'm asking you a question.
I would like an answer before.
I'm asking because that's the answer to the question.
My time's up, Mr. Zola.
Thank you,
Wait,
Matt.
I have some questions. Mr. O'Donnell, I have a question. From what Mr. Scarcella said, first of all, we did sit here a little over a year ago and were told we needed to cut kindergarten to save 1.5. Sorry. We were told we needed to cut kindergarten to save $1.5 million. We then put it back because it wasn't in the best interest of the children, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. So we're behind 1.5, and you're saying that all of the jobs that we gave the buyout for were supposed to be a savings because we were already $1.5 million over. But now, with this $1.5 million savings from people retiring, we should be putting that back into education. We shouldn't be hiring more people. And I'm pretty sure that when we did with the assistant to the superintendent, and I know that it was you, Mr. Zola, said that he would be doing HR work. But now we need another assistant to the superintendent to do HR work.
I don't think I ever put his job description out. That wasn't my responsibility.
Well, it's in the public
Well,
record, so
absolutely.
we
So
can pull the
check
tapes.
that.
I will.
Absolutely.
And did we not just hire Angela Evans at $90-some thousand to come in and sit with our teachers to tighten up our IEPs because of the suits?
And
So
you
we've
now
already
wait a
done
minute.
that.
And you sat in the meeting, Marie. You sat in the meeting when it was discussed that Angela Evans was going to be hired to represent the district for the special ed, to help us with our IEPs, and to do what? To train a person in the district to continue the IEP writing and making sure that they're followed through.
Well,
that
let's
was
pull
discussed
those
at
meetings too,
that was
because
discussed.
Mr.
Wait a minute,
Mahalik, this was your
That was discussed at
proposal,
more than
correct?
one
And did you
executive
not say
session,
she was
Marie.
going to come
Going
in and
back a
sit with
year.
our teachers?
Well, there is absolutely no doubt that Deb Yanuzzi and myself implemented or came up with the idea to implement what we hope is a very intensive professional development, but also very individualized. So the attorney is coming in to meet, hopefully with very small groups of teachers, to speak directly to them about situations
To
that
help them
they're
writing
dealing
their
with.
IEPs, correct?
I think overall to help them understand each component of that IEP, because again, each kid represents an absolute new document for that teacher. So understanding each component and how it needs to be individualized for that student. But without question, I believe myself and Mrs. Yanuzzi were leading the charge to implement this professional development, yes.
Was part of any of those discussions to put a person from the district in a position to do that?
So originally,
I thought I heard it.
Originally, yes, and most didn't have the benefit of hearing the discussions. And again, there is no question, we are, like every large school district, and small as well, we face usually 20 to 20-some due process filings per year. Most of them we settle, which means we just come to terms before we decide to go on to a hearing, because we know we cannot defend something technically with our work. Guaranteed we could defend it in terms of what we've been providing that kid, but we can't provide it on paper. So we thought, and we still believe, that our best approach to this was to provide very intensive support with the teachers with their IEPs. Not because our teachers don't know what they're doing, because the law is very, very difficult and cumbersome. And one little tiny mistake on an IEP.
But we're just starting that, is that correct? I mean,
Well,
we
we're
could
into
go on about
our
this all night, but
second year.
We're just starting this
Yes.
with
However,
Attorney Evans.
yeah, right. The original discussion was to go with not even one IEP facilitator, several IEP facilitators, because we have over 1,500 IEPs that need to be monitored if we are looking monitor for compliance. Now, when I talked to Mr. Scarcella, the team has a responsibility in that meeting to make sure the IEP is appropriate for that kid. But when we're looking at something that's defensible, that's going to stand up under the scrutiny of an attorney, that's a whole different level.
Well, then don't you think that there should be interviews and that the attorney should sit on the interview committee? Since she is the expert and does know who would do the best job.
Thank you.
Marie, just to comment on one of the things that you said in regards to some of these positions, I'd argue that the position that we're hiring tonight for Patrick Patty to become the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, I would say that that is an investment into education. We've gone without somebody in this position for too long. We've let curriculum fall behind. We've let instruction fall behind from an administrative level.
Please, K to 12. We
K to
had
12, correct.
Right, K to 12. Mr. Donati did a phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
K to 8.
Absolutely.
But everybody let him do his job and just struggle. And you're right, Dr. Childs. It was just Dr. Butler and Mr. Donati, and they were left out to dry for 2 years.
Agreed. And remember, Mr. Donati not only did.
Can I ask her a question? Who were they left out to dry by?
Yeah.
By us. They didn't get this
By
kind
us or
of
by
help.
you?
Not by me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
I won votes. But that's good, because point the finger, because that's a good
Well,
no, I don't
right,
use
and I don't think anybody's pointing the finger. I think we're trying to provide the support now that they should have, but just let it be known that Mr. Donati not only took the job of K to 8 curriculum, instruction, and assessment, he
took K to
also
12.
no, he did not. He had K to 8, Mrs. K.
Dr. Butler had.
Dr. Butler had secondary.
Yes, he did.
So that we never really truly had a day-to-day secondary person in place. And in addition, we had Mr. Donati doing all the HR, which is extremely cumbersome. And we all know that. A district of this size, probably the largest employer in the entire Hazleton area, is running without a true HR department.
And when we addressed Mr. Donati to ask him that we would take that away, all the process that he was doing there, if he wanted it, we would assign it to someone else. He refused. He said no, that he wanted to be directly responsible with looking over all the applications that came in, with setting up all the. He wanted that. He was asked by the board if he wanted, and we also asked Dr. Butler if he wanted an assistant, and he absolutely said no. I can do this myself. And as we found out, he couldn't. And as he found out, he wasn't capable of doing it. So no one left anyone out to dry. You know, I mean, Mr. Donati was offered a shot at the superintendent's position. He turned it down. So this board supported our administrators 100%, 100% plus. Some took it a little too far and harassed them to a point where some of our administrators actually had to get attorneys. I think you know who that we're talking about, Marie. That would have been you.
So when
Dr. Butler, let's say it the way it is.
No.
So when Dr. Butler,
But you could say whatever you
well,
want.
I'm saying it because it's truth, and it can be backed up.
And after that, you just stop coming to meetings.
Exactly.
Executive
Why
sessions.
would I come to executive sessions? I'm accused of things.
'Cause you're like you
screamed
told me,
at
you're
and
one vote.
cursed at.
You're
And
one
I'm
vote.
one vote. So I'm here to give my one
Let's
vote.
move on.
Yeah. Well, why didn't you come to the other meetings to give your one vote?
I
Mahalik?
haven't missed any of these meetings.
I'm not talking about the regular school board meetings. I'm talking about executive sessions, committee meetings, and everything else in the last 6 months. Then you come here and you talk about us. Maybe if you came to those, you
I didn't talk about you at all. I asked questions, which is my job as
Your job is also to come to meetings, too.
It is to come to me. You made a commitment 4 years or 2 years
Vote on
ago
the
to do
bills,
that.
Paying the bills.
This is every meeting. This
Mr.
is why I
Mahalik.
don't come to the meetings. This is every meeting.
Mrs. Teresa Redwinski of Drums speaking on item number 91 and 86.
Good evening, Teresa Redwinski, president of the HAESP and a resident of Drums. I have a few questions, but the first one is on item 86. Doesn't there need to be a date there because otherwise Freeland doesn't have a secretary come tomorrow morning? There should be a date there, or there's no secretary come tomorrow morning in Freeland schools.
Yeah, it should be the same date as the date in number 88.
Right, so can we amend that?
So we would like to add that date to 86 as well. Effective October 27th.
And then item number 91, approve the revised job description for a full-time financial secretary in the superintendent's office. Since financial secretaries belong to our unit, why were we not consulted or even told that there's going to be a financial secretary in the superintendent's office?
She's there now. Bobby, can you say what the...
That position currently exists. If you remember, we abolished the general secretary in the superintendent's office.
No, I don't remember that.
Position, as you always want, to be posted immediately, so we could post that position tomorrow, assuming the other votes go through this evening.
But it says a revised job description.
Correct, because if you remember, that position that was abolished, there were some duties there that came over to the financial secretary. And the last time that job description was board approved goes back to the early 2000s.
So, but I haven't seen it, and I'm the president of the union.
I'll be happy to share it with you.
That would be very helpful. Also, we talk about how short we are of teachers and how short we are crowded in classrooms. But yet, every time I come to you and ask you to increase the secretaries that were made half-time secretaries in our busiest schools in the district, the Castle, Maple Manor, we're told, no, there's no money for secretaries. But yet, we're putting other people in jobs. And someday, there's going to be a student that's going to be missing, and we're not going to know about it because there's no secretary in that school, because one of the secretaries is gone, either in the morning or at the end of the day. In the schools where we took 5.5-hour secretaries now, there's time when there's not people covering. That's really unacceptable. I mean, our biggest schools, Heights Terrace, has 1.5 people running it. Our guidance secretary is a half person. We went from 1.5 secretaries to a half secretary. That woman is overwhelmed, and it's not fair to her, and she never complains. She never complains. Also, sorry, I'm going over. Maybe if we hired some paraprofessionals to help in the kindergarten classes, in our multi-handicap classes, in our emotional support classes.
I agree.
But yet, you know, we take care of our most valuable asset in this district, our students. And repeatedly, we're asked to take pay freezes. We're the lowest paid in the district, and we're asked to continually take pay freezes. But yet we're hiring people. Can you explain to me how now I'm to go to my members with a proposal? We have a meeting set up next week. And how do I explain to them why they should take a pay freeze? I mean, I get it. You're saying the district has no money, but why do they have to take a pay freeze if we have money to hire other people? If you could just explain that to them, because I don't know how to explain it to them anymore. Thank you.
Anne Marie Chrismar from Hazleton, Chismar. I apologize, Anne Marie.
Thank you.
Speaking on item number 66.
Okay, again, I want to I just want to say the board, for years, you've worked really hard to create a fair and honest hiring policy, correct? So why, since we have a policy and policies are in place to make sure we remain fair and honest, would you ask to suspend that policy to hire people who, some of them, we don't even need the job till September? Now, Vinny, I heard what you said. I understand that. But I seriously don't know any principal that would take 2 months off, you know, or use that, or, you know, we just don't do that. So my question to you, and it comes from a lot of teachers, are you trying to hide something?
The numbers are there. The numbers are there. I mean, I don't know.
Why does it need to be done now? I mean, and I heard what you said about the other school board. It almost sounded somewhat like you were a little frustrated with the other school board who rushed and hired before their term was up. It seems like this board is trying to do the same thing.
A lot of us are still on the board, though, next year.
So why
you know
not
what I'm
wait
saying?
till January?
You know.
I know. So why not?
You know,
wait when
there's
it
only
seems a little-
3 seats.
Why do we have to suspend a policy that you
Well,
all
hopefully,
worked for?
Mr. McCulloch will be elected, right?
I mean, we worked years.
hope.
I've been in the district for years. And it took a long time to get to the policy to where it is now. Please don't suspend it now after you've worked so hard to create a policy. That's what I'm asking.
If I may, and I completely understand people's feelings and the reaction this evening, completely. I have the same feelings in some cases. However, we just need to know it's not the first time. The policy was suspended for Dr. Antonelli. The policy was suspended for Mr. Basic. The policy was suspended for our chief. No, I'm repeating. I mean, you're talking Dr. Antonelli, you're talking Mr. Basic, Mr. Donati, our great chief back there. I mean, we've done this before, and mainly because we're saying we know who the candidates are going to be. It would have been, again, with Mr. Patty, he was second, a solid second, and a lot of people in this room were big supporters of Mr. Patty. Well, and that's right, and that's a very good point that we're hearing and listening. Yeah, and you're right, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Emery.
Mr. Mahalik, excuse me, I'm sitting here listening to suspensions of policies. I'm going to go back to 8 years when Dr. Childs was on the board, and I was principal of the high school at the time, and I won the primary election, or 4 of us won it outright. Come July 1st, I was still principal till December, and they appointed Mr. Patron as the principal of the high school at the same time I was there. That's 8 years ago. Did it work? No. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, it did not work. But I'm just trying to point out it's been done in the past, and it's not right, and I understand that, Mrs. Chismar, absolutely. I understand that. But there you were paying 2 people, was not necessary. And at that time, I begged the superintendent not to appoint him until my term was up, until I started. It didn't work. So it was July, August, September, October, November, 5 months. There was dual principals there. And you're right, it didn't work. And I agree with you. But what I'm saying, my opinion, for what it's worth, it's probably not worth very much tonight, but the thing of it is, there are some positions, my impression was, these people are going to get hired and not start until later on, or to follow maybe 1 day a week. Because when you're going into a new position, it's very difficult. I'm sure you've seen it as long as you've been in the district. And there is a learning period, and I don't care how bright you are or who you are, there is a learning period going on, regardless of the position or the person. And I think it's important that maybe if somebody's going to be, and we had talked to Mrs. Podlesnik today, she decided not to take the directors of special ed. And her question had been to me, would it be possible for me to come down and shadow 1 day a week if I decided to take it from West Hazleton? Absolutely. There's a lot to learn in a different position. So I think it's important that we have that opportunity to shadow, not saying getting paid double, no, not saying getting paid double, but it's important to learn a position before you get into it. So when you get into that position, you can take off running. There's no learning curve when you get into that position from day one. You have to be prepared. And that's my opinion for what it's worth. And I'll stick by it.
And that's a good opinion, but it still doesn't answer the suspension and everything. And I agree with you on that. It is good to shadow.
Thank you.
Not like this long in advance.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James Hearn, 66. Thank you, James.
Okay, I just have a quick statement to read. Leadership is born in moral authority, and morality is founded in ethical actions. When the membership of an organization trusts its leadership to act ethically and for the greater good, great achievements are possible. When the membership loses trust in its leadership because of a lack of ethical actions, all our greatest endeavors are in peril. I personally have personal ambitions, but as a parent of young children in this district, who along with all the children in this district will be affected by the actions and the intentions of this board for the rest of their lives, I have to put those aside for now and declare on the record that this board has lost its moral authority in the hearts of its membership and in the community, and we are all deeply saddened by it.
Mrs. Michelle Planutis, Hazleton, item number 96.
Okay, I would like to address two parts of item 96. First off, the IEP writer is listed as per HAEA contract. This is currently not a position in our contract. Can you just please elaborate why it would be considered within our group?
I think the thought was it was similar to the virtual academy coordinator position in your contract, and would be paid with a differential based
Okay.
on the contract.
Well, and I know we've already beat to death that the policy is abolished for this meeting, but if it were a lateral move, like a regular ed teacher to ESL, or even to special ed, no interview would be necessary. But since this will be a significant increase in pay, I think it's unfortunate that a lot of special ed teachers did not have the opportunity to interview for this position. Furthermore, we have spent, the HAEA negotiating team has spent the last 9 months negotiating, not in ignorance, in what we believed was good faith, with many of you obviously sitting right in front of me, and under the impression that the district was in financial distress. And regardless of that presentation, although it was very nicely done, I can make numbers say a lot of things too. And the slides went by so quickly, and I know I could read it later, but what difference does that make now? I feel that we were misled, and that unfortunately misrepresented ourselves to all of our members, and it wasn't fair to us or them, the contract we presented. And I, for one, I'm glad we voted it down.
Michelle, thank you for your comments. I don't know what the definition exactly when it pertains to school districts as far as when we're in financial distress. Do we need to run out of money to like nothing in our bank account left to be in financial distress? I don't think so. If we are in that position, I could tell you that we're going to be in a lot worse shape than we are now. If our money is zero and we're borrowing money to stay open, that's a terrible position to be in. It's not going to be a period of are we not going to hire positions? We're going to be laying people off at that position. So it's
Absolutely. Everybody should
approve the board meeting minutes for the regular monthly board meeting, September 28th, 2017.
So moved.
How many people came
Second.
to the board?
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Looking for positions.
All in favor of approving the minutes,
Special places.
say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Positions.
Ayes have it, motion passes.
Treasurer's report from September 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mr. Reba?
All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Mr. Epplinger, we could proceed.
Sure, thank you. Approve items 1 through 18 with one motion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Numbers 1 through 18, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Under special education, ESL, and alternative education on page 4, approve items 19 through 28.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Numbers 19 through 28, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Page 5, nutrition, approve items 29 through 32 with one motion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Just
Reba?
on number 29, again, if we could give a nice thank you to both our food service provider and our staff. This is a tremendous event each year for our senior citizens, and looking forward to it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalik. Mr. Reba?
Numbers 29 through 32, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
On page 6, under transportation, approve items 33 through 34 with one motion.
So move.
Second.
Questions or comments? It also includes 35 as
Does.
well.
No, 35, we'd like to
Oh,
just have a quick
split?
discussion.
Okay.
and split it.
Mr. Reba?
33 and 34, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Item number 35, recommend board approve busing contractors to utilize Prospect Park Road,
So
Rock
move.
Glen.
So
Second.
move.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba, did you want to explain?
No, I just wanted the board to vote
Oh.
on this separately.
Gotcha, okay.
35, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Ayes have it, noting Mr. John's no vote.
Under security, approve items 36 through 39 with one motion.
So move.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Numbers 36 through 39, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Under student activities, athletics, and extracurricular, approve items 40 to 43 with one motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Numbers 40 to 43, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
On page 7, facilities and capital projects, approve items 44 through 48 with one motion.
So move.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Numbers 44 through 48, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Page 8, finance, approve items 49 through 60 with one motion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Numbers 49 through 60, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Item 61, recommend board approve for the period of October 22nd, 2017, October 22nd, 2018, the insurance renewal as follows, as listed.
Our insurance broker provided a renewal quote last week on our insurance using the same company, Right Risk Management. Price was $516,648. We asked them if there were any other proposals from other companies. They informed us that other companies declined to quote because of our losses. We did, while we were at the PASBO conference in Pittsburgh, meet a insurance company and broker. I did reach out to him within the last week, and they provided a quote to us with a company, A-rated company, same coverage, for $171,000 and some odd change less. Total of $344,755. We're recommending that you approve 61B tonight.
I make the motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
All in favor of 61B, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Ayes have it, noting Mr. Bonomo's no vote. Gentleman is in the audience. His name is Paul, with Brown & Brown Insurance, in the front row. Thank you.
And this savings of $171,000 came because the board members at a convention bumped into this individual at his booth and talked about the problems we were having with insurance in our district, unable to get quotes. And there's a savings of $171,000 because of that.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
are we.
Item number 62, under bills. Letter A, Law Office of Angela J. Evans, Legal Services invoice.
Second.
Questions or comments on A or B? Mr. Reba?
62, A and B, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
No on
opposed?
B.
No on B.
Ayes have it, noting the 2 no votes on B.
On page 10, Superintendent's agenda, approve items 63 through 76 with one motion.
Motion.
So second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Numbers 63 through 76, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No on 66.
Ayes have it, noting the no vote.
Page 11, approve items 77 through 88 with one motion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr.
We are
Reba?
including the date of October 27, 2017 in number 86. Numbers 77, 88, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No on 86.
Ayes have it, noting the no vote on 86.
Page 12, approve items 89 through 94 with one motion.
So move.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Numbers 89 through 94, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No on 91.
Any other no votes?
No on 92.
If I might say something on 94, as I usually do when...
No. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead, you
just-
can finish.
Because I didn't get to see this before, so
On 94, all these people that are retiring, and I know it was mentioned earlier, some I know better than others on this list, but I know every single one of them to a certain extent. And certainly I want to wish them a very long and happy and healthy retirement when they do get to that point. Some of these people, maybe all of them, like I said, I don't know all of them really well, have put 35, 40, 45 years in to this business. And they've all done a great job. Deb's sitting in the audience there. Maureen DeRose, who's not here tonight, I don't believe. Kathy Breyer, George Donati, and the rest of them that are listed here have all been fine people who have done a fine job for this district for a long time. So once again, I congratulate each and every one of them.
Marie, did you have any other no votes? I just want to make sure of that.
no.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did we vote? Oh, okay.
We did vote on them, didn't we?
Yes.
89 through, oh, I'm sorry. 95, yeah.
On page 13, number 95, recommend board approve the following tenure list as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
95, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Item number 96, recommend board approve the following appointments as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I have a comment. I would just like people to vote their conscience like I'm going to, but before that, there's just a few things that this savings of 1.2 million can do besides hiring these individuals. And again, I have nothing personal against these people. Some of them are very fine people. It's just the way that it was done. Do you know that we have regular ed kids in with honors classes? Do you know that children are losing out on their educational value? Do you know that we have textbooks that are over 10 years old? Do you know that that we do not have enough bandwidth, so the computers are shutting down while the children are using them in class, and that a lot of our kids don't have computers to use at home, and so they aren't able to do their work? Part of that is also there's a limited number of copies now because they were told it's too expensive to make them. There's kids sitting at teachers' desks because we literally don't have enough desks. The desks are too small for some of our students at the high school because they're bigger kids. We cut 7th grade sports. Sports is an integral part of any kind of extracurricular activity for junior high kids that will keep them away from drugs and off the streets. So band, arts, whatever they're interested in, but to keep them off the street. Do you know that special ed is at risk of losing some of their funding because we don't have enough people and no one wants to come to this district? And if you think that it's okay to hire all of these people, then please vote your conscience. But if not, that money should be used for the kids.
Yeah, right.
Mr. President, I'm absolutely not trying to be adversarial here to Ms. Kay, but I need to know, Ms. Kay, because I've sat here at every meeting for the past bunch of years. I have never, ever, ever, ever voted no to books, to more computers, to more any resource that would help a kid. Where are you getting this information from?
Where, the teachers. Ask the teachers. Talk to your
But
teachers.
where are you getting the information from? Because I'm not getting it. How do you get it?
The teachers.
Well, why aren't they coming and telling us this?
We vote on what our...
How come I don't know that there's books over 10 years old?
Not listening.
But where are you telling them? Where are you getting this from?
People.
Okay, so tell us what we need. The board members shouldn't be walking through schools. That's
I
not our
have not
responsibility.
walked through a school.
Okay.
I have not been in any of this.
Marie, our technology director just last week at our committee meetings brought up a number of computers that he had to buy. Am I right or wrong? Wait a minute, and we voted on it.
How would she know?
I mean, we have never voted not to purchase equipment that I'm aware of that was brought to us by our personnel. Dr. Butler has never, and we asked Dr. Butler for this. Well, if that's happening, who said that? Okay, wait a minute. What building are you in? Okay, so did you bring that attention to Mr. Petro? Did you bring that to the principal's attention? Okay, well, that's no reason that can't be resolved. There's absolutely no reason for that to occur. None. Then that has to go through technology. We just purchased how many computers? Where's our technology? Wait a minute. 1,850 computers. We voted to purchase 1,850 computers.
Dr. Briggs, I think you have to...
There's some bad information here.
Dr. Briggs, I think you have to explain to them that they're being ghosted now. And I think you told us the other day you're doing about 80 a day. Because, am I correct? Yes. And I think that information, I think these teachers need to know that.
So, Marie, 1,850 computers were voted on by this board to be purchased. They came in late, not our fault, but we purchased them because that's what the person in charge of our technology told us we needed for our schools, and we did it.
I'm just pointing out what the deficiencies are, and we're going ahead and appointing people to jobs.
But then again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that information has to come to us, though.
When we put it on our budget, it gets budgeted out. Look at from, I mean, I understand what you're doing, and I appreciate it. I wouldn't want your job in a million years, but we're coming to you, we're in the business of kids as well. We can't, I have 35 kids in a classroom, 18 computers, you can't do anything, they don't work. It's just, you're going in and you're banging your heads.
We just asked that question on Tuesday night at our committee meetings. Where are we going to get space from? We just talked about, do we need portable classrooms? I'm sorry? That suggestion just came up at our executive session. So we're looking at those things and discussing them. It just came up Tuesday night at the executive session.
Oh, God.
We're going to sit down with Brian and figure out what we have to do to resolve these issues.
It needs to. It needs to.
What was it? Now wait a minute. Was it done as quickly as the air conditioning? Was it done as quickly as the air conditioning problem at the high school? Well, okay.
And you're welcome to come into all of you are welcome to come into my classroom any day. It's 80. We have kids who I'm a bigger person, but we have bigger people in that room
Are these concerns from all teachers here, regardless of if it's high school or elementary or middle schools, are these concerns relayed to administrators on a daily, weekly basis? What are you told, though?
I know it's been brought up. I'm not privy to that information. All I can do is be relayed to my administrator. And Mr. Patron is wonderful. If I ask him for anything, he comes down, he does whatever he can. Our hands are tied sometimes, and I'm sure yours are. We just need help. We're willing to meet you guys, have to meet us. And I know
Brian, would you set up a meeting?
Can I address?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I could, where are the elementary teachers, if you're out here, that I've met with, that I've been in your buildings? There are some buildings I haven't been to yet. However, those issues have been documented, and the major ones have been brought to the board. Like we've been talking nonstop about class sizes. We've been talking nonstop about teachers. We've been talking nonstop about adding air conditioning to the buildings. Those are the major things. This is the first time I'm hearing that kids are fitting in class, or not fitting in desks. This is the very first time. And I have not been to the high school to sit with you and talk about that. I've met with student council members, and that didn't come up either. But we had, there's some other things that came up with them. They're great. They're fantastic kids. And that's where we need to hear from too. We need to hear from the kids too. So yes, the things that you're telling us are being relayed, and we are discussing them. So please, that stuff takes time. This is my first month. Rome wasn't built in a day.
And if I may if I may add, and I'm going to put it right out here for these 9 board members, some who would love nothing more than the opportunity to take me down, and here's your chance. I said since August 29th, what do we need? We have these teachers on this list. We have to hire them. There is no way these kids are going to get what they get, or what they need, or what our teachers can do with overcrowded classrooms. I've been begging, please tell me, what do we need? I'm prepared to vote for them. Deb Yanuzzi, I am the chairperson of her committee. She came to me, she said what she needed. It is on the agenda this night. I'm not trying to take credit, and I am not staging for my campaign this evening. I'm saying that we are here to do better for our kids. She came, I said, I'm bringing it to these people. Nobody voted no against those positions. Just please tell us what you need, because we don't know. I'm hearing from my friends. I've got friends that are teachers. I've got friends that are administrators. I'm hearing math classes 35, 37. And I said, you cannot teach math to even the most gifted, the most high flyers, to 37 kids and 1 teacher. You can't. We need more. And I've gotten time and time again, there's no room. That's what I keep getting. We have a list of elementary teachers ready to go. Great teachers, we want to hire them. I'm sure we could get math teachers. I'm sure there's some, biology and science teachers out there. Please let us know. Come to this meeting, sit here. There will be nowhere near this type of crowd. Tell us what you need, and I promise you this board is going to get it, as long as it's a real necessity. And I know that the teaching positions are complete necessities. Just tell us, because from what we've been told since August 29th, and anybody can challenge me right now that we don't have room or we don't yet have the numbers. Yep. We're still looking to see enrollments from those people that haven't shown up. I want to make sure our teachers are teaching in a very controlled environment, and that's all I'm looking for. And yes. Right. Well, and again, right. Mm-hmm.
And it's because they don't have the Title I money. We all at Maple Manor, we're lucky. We have the document cameras and projectors. Those kids, they don't. My kids go in every day and they sweat their butts off.
Yeah.
Because there's no air conditioning and my kindergartner has 29 in her classroom. So yeah, we can hire as many teachers as we want, but we still have to have the supplies for them. When I was hired,
I come over here.
That was it.
Upstairs, that's the only building I've been
no
in.
teacher's manuals, no books, nothing. Dr. Antonelli came in and said, wow, look at all these books. I said, yeah, I had to go get them myself. Because this board didn't give them.
No, but it's not the board. But it's not the board. That's where you're wrong. You're here tonight. This is the very first time I've ever seen you. It's the very first time I've heard you say this right here. And I happen to have a son that goes to Valley. I get it. There's nothing we can do about air conditioning. Nothing. That was something that should have been done when that building was being built or when it was being refurbished. It's a problem we have, and we're going to have somebody that knows buildings and grounds better than any of us up here coming on the board. But that's not a fix we can fix. But I promise you, headphones, computers, laptops, iPads, 33 kids in a room, that we can fix. But I'm telling you, I've never heard that until tonight. Never. I've never heard headphones didn't work. And I don't know that a board would hear that, but it should come to us. If it's a problem, come to us. Yeah. Right.
Because we are. I know the teachers go to their administrators, and I know the administrators do the best job that they can. But with what they have, and they are told, no, you can't have that. No, we don't have the money for that. And I know it. I've seen the emails. I've been in the faculty meetings. I know that. But you can't just have these, like, oh, you didn't tell us.
Right.
We try. We're trying. And that's why we're all here tonight.
Yeah, and it's working. Last May, we had 12 teachers come here and sit in here and tell us how miserably wrong this kindergarten thing has gone awry, right? 12 people. I almost left here with tears, and maybe I actually did leave here with tears, knowing I was part of that vote. We had administrators saying, no, give it another year. Give it another. I said, no, these are the teachers. These are the ones that's saying, and maybe down the valley, some of those kids are fine. But the majority of the kids that don't have those same opportunities were not fine. 12 teachers came here, and that was the turning point to going back to a full day kindergarten. 12 teachers that sat right here and looked at us. If you come, it could be one person that comes and brings this to our attention if it's not getting to our attention. Absolutely. Right. And again, I'm going to say the best opportunity for you is our committee meetings. Board meetings, we're voting on the committees that were already in place. You come to a committee meeting and you talk, and then the next week is the action. That's the voting. If you come to a committee, which is the second week of every month, then the following week we vote. And then we have time to discuss this and put it in place. Please, I beg people, come to the committee meetings. So far more important than this.
Mr. Mahali, can I just ask one question? You keep saying that there's no room, and there isn't. I mean, the high school has 2,100 kids in it. It was built for 1,600 to 1,800 kids. What's the answer for that? Like, every year they get more and more.
Right.
Elementary schools close, and then they go to the next one until that one
Yeah.
goes and that. High school can't close. What do you, I mean, I worked there for many, many years, and I retired last year, but what is the answer? Is there an answer?
You have to add classrooms somehow. So it's either portable classrooms or an addition to a building or everything that costs millions of dollars. I mean, you're not talking about a $50,000 fix because it's not only the high school. You know, I mean, there's a lot of buildings that need to be space.
In most cases,
If,
they should not be working.
right. And Mrs. McBride, there were several of us that are currently on this board that several years ago were chastised absolutely almost out of this town that voted to open up a magnet school. We purchased a building. It was called the Valley School. We were buying a Valley School. It's going to be a Valley School. It's a school without borders. That's what we did to take 560 kids out of that high school campus because we recognized it's way too overcrowded. You know, we were able to do that. Again, we bought the Bishop Hayfie School to try to, I mean, right now, there isn't even any buildings. We'd have to now build. We'd have to build. And again, right, our kids keep coming.
But
right.
Ellen, we brought some information forward on two buildings that are existing in the community that may be renovated or could be renovated into schools. And that information is there and it's being worked on. But, you know, I mean, it takes time to go through. We were turned down on one building An offer was made on a building, we were turned down on it. So it's not that we're not looking into all this stuff, it just takes time.
So why are you supporting him now?
I just wonder when can it stop? Like when does it finally say,
It's not
okay,
gonna
now
stop.
now we gotta build. And I know that building program and what's it costing that.
And it doesn't stop. We're going to have new kids every year. I mean, Valmont just is opening another plant, and I understand there's 2 more in development stages. So we're looking at a population explosion again in our school.
Here we go.
Yeah, I agree completely with you.
Come on, let's vote. Just gone full circle.
Right. Absolutely.
Why don't we just freeze this, table this? Let's fix the room before we buy new furniture for the house.
Yeah, listen to him.
It seems like there's enough.
Here we go.
Don't spend any more. Table this. We can talk this.
Where are we at?
We have a motion and a second on number 96, so I appreciate the dialogue that we have. We could certainly talk about it after. Well, guys, we're talking about foundational issues to improve the school district, not on this agenda. We have to stick to the agenda here, so we could certainly talk about those things after the agenda is over. I'm more than happy to entertain it. I'll stay here till midnight if you want to. So we have it. We have a motion and a second on number 96. Mr. Reba.
Number 96, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No.
I'd like to.
No.
I'd like to abstain on.
Mr. Reba, could we do a roll call, please?
Mr. Bonomo?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. Fume?
Yeah.
Mrs. K?
No.
Mr. John?
No on Pat Patty.
Mr. Mahalik?
Yes.
Mrs. Scarcella?
I'd like to abstain for the last name on the list of 96.
Mr. Zola?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Ayes have a motion passes.
Go home now.
Item number 97, recommend board approve the legal service agreement between...
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
Can I ask what the total cost paid to Attorney Slusser was?
$183,500 plus $183,300 plus $12,500.
Allison Barletta's sister?
Was there a second already in this?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to table number 97.
Second.
So it was not discussed at the committee
Came
meetings.
forward.
I don't
Second.
know what they're saying.
I think we have a motion and a second.
I can't hear anything down here.
Let's take a recess for a minute.
We're going to recess for a moment.
To make noise. So it's quiet.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
On the motion to table 97, Mr. Bonomo?
No.
Mr. Chapman?
No.
Mr. Fume?
No.
Mrs. K?
Yes.
Mr. John?
Yes.
Mr. Mahalik?
No.
Mrs. Scarcella?
No.
Mr. Zola?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Donnell?
No.
Motion to table fails, 6-3. On number 97, Mr. Bonomo?
98.
Yes.
97.
We have to vote on
We didn't vote
97
on
now.
it.
It
Sorry.
did not table.
Table.
Mr. Bonomo?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. Fume?
Yeah.
Mrs. K?
No.
Mr. John?
No, because it was not discussed at the committee meetings.
Mr. Mahalik?
Yes.
Mrs. Scarcella?
Yes.
Mr. Zola?
No, and not anything towards Mr. Slusser or the firm. I just feel, there's 2 years left, and, I'm going to vote no on it.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-3.
Item number 98, recommend board approve the agreement between Hazleton Area School District and Fred Bartella, independent contractor, pending approval.
So moved.
Second. Any questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to table number 98 because it was not discussed at the committee meetings.
Second.
Mr. Reba, on the motion to table?
On the motion to table, Mr. Bonomo?
No.
Mr. Chapman?
No.
Mr. Fume?
No.
Mrs. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. John?
Yes.
Mr. Mahalik?
No.
Mrs. Scarcella?
No.
Mr. Zola?
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell?
No.
Motion to table fails, 6-3. Voting on number 98. Mr. Bonomo on 98.
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. Fume?
Yes.
Mrs. Kay?
No.
Mr. John?
No, because it was not discussed.
Mr. Mahalik?
Yes.
Mrs. Scarcella?
Yes.
Mr. Zola?
No.
And Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-3.
Item number 99, recommend board approve the insider information and confidentiality policy presented by Mr. Vincent Zola.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Reba?
On number 99, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
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 Let me do a roll call vote. Mr. Bonomo?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
No.
Mr. Fume?
No.
Mrs. Kay?
No.
Mr. John?
Yes.
Mr. Mahalik?
Yes.
Mrs. Scarcella?
Yes.
Mr. Zola?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-3.
Any other board business that you'd like to present at this time?
I just would like to set something up that the concerns from like Janet and that somehow are going to get funneled weekly to us, or so that
Those, well, and I have been, with those, the board reports that I'm sending everyone, those items, the major items that we discussed, those items are being funneled to the board. But there are intricate items that I haven't been yet, as there's an open items list that I'm putting together for the board that I can send out, and those other items will be on there. We didn't talk really so much about headphones and things like that when I met with some of the teachers, but we certainly know that there's a need there, and we can address those, certainly. We are here for the kids.
And I just want to say it's very upsetting that a board member waits till tonight to discuss all these things that apparently she knew of and we didn't. That's really, really discouraging to me. If you knew it, you should have said it in August, September, and halfway through October. You should have told us.
You've been on the board
You knew.
for 8 years. Are you going to say you didn't know any of it?
Miss
No
Kay,
one ever told you anything.
No, nobody
People
ever
only
told
came
me.
to me because
Nobody
they
ever
found out
told me.
about the hirings and
Nobody
they
ever
said
told
stuff
me
then.
that they didn't have books. Nobody ever told me that there was oversized kids in undersized desks. And it's so surprising to me that somebody that does not come to meetings, okay, that stopped coming to meetings the day that her 000 proposal for the teachers was shut down by 7 other board members, stopped coming to meetings, and then all of a sudden you now know these things, that there's an oversized kid in an undersized chair? Mrs. K.
Found that out yesterday.
Wow, you're amazing. I got to tell you that. You're amazing.
Yeah.
Keep grandstanding, Mrs. K. Keep grandstanding and voting no for the only way for us to get revenue in this school district. Keep voting no. The only way there is to get revenue in this school district. Grandstand. 000 is what you wanted to give those teachers. Yes or no? Yes or no, Mrs. K? Ms. K, 000, was that your proposal to this board? Yes or no?
Ms. K, you are lying through your teeth.
How is that moving us forward?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's embarrassing to me. You're superintendent in another school.
Listen, when you're being put in a position where being grandstand, this is an individual that two people had to get an attorney. I know you don't want to hear that, but they had to get an attorney to stop her. Is that true, Mr. Solicitor? Is that true? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Is what true? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
That two administrators had to seek legal counsel for the harassment that was being presented to them.
I know of one.
Okay.
You know, it's just sad because there's so many good things that go on. There's so many times that I've been approached, and Michelle, and you and I spoke about being able to talk to the teachers. You and I had a conversation, Michelle.
You know the truth. You know the truth, and I've been having to put up with this mud.
I was responding to his question. Now,
Never mind. But I did offer to the union, through Michelle, that I wanted to start where the board members could meet with teachers at the schools so that they could talk openly about their needs, and if there was a need to do it privately, that we would do that. Sorry, it didn't happen to this point because of everything else that's going on, but it just comes out that the people up here don't care, and it's just not true. I mean, when the complaint came about the air conditioning at the high school, it was addressed the best way we could without spending millions of dollars to put air conditioning in an old building. We went out immediately within 7 days, purchased units, window air conditioning units for the rooms that the temperatures rose above what we felt was a safe 80 degrees. Our maintenance personnel in that building, well, Janet, I know, but 80, when you got 100 and some rooms, you got to draw a line somewhere. We said 80 degrees. Any room that had 80 degrees, we put air conditioners in within 7 days. 7 days. And you can't deny that, Janet. I mean, well, we went through and checked with a thermometer, a digital or infrared thermometer, classrooms. We had them do it for 7. So all I'm trying to say is, if we know of a problem, we try to address it. There's no question about it. If we don't know, I'm sorry, as soon as we find out.
Somebody mentioned that our school do I know this is going to sound silly, a random drawing every month. Everybody came out of a hat and come to work with us and how our whole day goes. And there are many great things.
I tried that. And you know what they said? They said that I was micromanaging. I tried that. During the kindergarten thing, I went up to West Hazleton. I sat in the classroom. Jocelyn, you're sitting there. I sat in the classroom. I went to a number of schools, actually, until someone on this board said to me, "You have no business going in the schools, you're micromanaging." That's what was said to me. And I stopped because I didn't want it to create a problem. So it's not that we don't care. We care. We care more than you know. So,
any other public comment?
My name's Eric Clarko from Hazel Township. I'm trying to temper what I have feeling right now because I've known quite a few people on this board for a long time. I respect many of you, but after tonight, all but one went way down in my respect level. I haven't seen this board, this district operate in such a way in a long, long time, and I thought we were on the right trend, and we've gone backwards in a way I never wanted to see. I've been coming to these meetings for over 10 years. I was here when we used to scream and holler at each other. I don't want us to go back to that. But tonight, and number 96, and you know what? If it wasn't in the committee meetings, you shouldn't have voted on it tonight. It's just common courtesy to the public, to the taxpayers, to the students. And I just don't know what's ahead, but I'm dreading the next few months, the next few years. This district, people don't want to come work here, I hear. I'm in the schools almost every day, and I know a lot of substitutes that have left for other districts because they are tired of the politics and the nonsense. Let's try to fix it in a constructive way. And the name calling and accusations at the board from all ends of the spectrum has to stop.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.